Hi, this is Tom from rabbitinabar, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really fat bass drum and snare drum sounds by stacking two sounds at once. Check it out. Hey everybody, you might remember this beat because this is the one that we used for our last tutorial, where we talked about how to turn everyday sounds into hi-hats. Today we're going to focus on bass drum and hi-hat production, and as you can hear, this is kind of a fat beat. It's not the fattest in the world, but it's a lot fatter than you might get out of your standard Reason beat. First of all, this is a 4 to the floor, as I've mentioned in the very first tutorial. And again, if you haven't seen that, the link's in the description down below. So you might want to watch that first or watch it afterwards. 4 to the floor means you have 4 bass drums which actually come on every single beat. So for the programming later on, I'm going to show you how to do that. Usually the speed of that, the BPM, is usually about 100, between 125 and at the most 135. We're shooting for 128. So this beat is comprised of actually two different sounds for the bass drum and the snare drum as well. And I'm going to quickly show you how I did that. First of all, let's open a new red room. We're going for the chemical kit, to be more precise, chemical kit number 4. This is the bass drum I want to use, and I said I'm going to show you how to set the bass drums, or where to set the bass drums. It's always the 1, so that means in this case it's 1, it's 5, it's 9, and it's 13. But I don't really like the sound of it. As you can see here, this is the one that I used for the first tutorial. What we did was basically change it a little bit, and I'm going to show you what we did to make it sound a bit different. So first of all, we want to change the length because it's way too long. Now let's listen. That's better, but we also want to pitch it up slightly. Let's give it another listen. As you can hear, it's still a lot fatter in the other one, but that's because we've already stacked that one. We could just turn that one, we could just mute that one and listen to it. They sound pretty similar. Now let's go to the snare. For the snare, as you can see, we used the SD3 sexy snare. Sounds very good. So let's check that out. We go to this button here in the middle to load a different snare drum sample. Scroll down, scroll down. There it is. And for the snare, we want to set the beats to 5 and 13. We're going to mute the bass drum for a second so we can focus on the snare. Now that's not the same as this one, is it? So again, here we need to do a little bit of work. First of all, we want to reduce the length as well. And I guess we need to turn down the level a wee bit and turn the level of the bass drum up a little bit as well. So let's listen to that. Let's check if that sounds like the other one we're shooting for. Yeah, pretty good. But the original sound was something like this. And in case you wonder how I did that, well, basically, I said it before, we want to stack it. That means we need another bass drum and snare drum sound on top of the ones that we have already. And for that, we're going to open a Kong drum designer. And we're going to use the Deep House kit. I'm using standard kits so you can actually use the ones that come straight with Reason and you don't have to buy any additional loop sets or sounds. So let's see whether that sounds the way we want it to sound. Let's first listen to the bass drum here. That sounds good. We didn't change much there. And now let me tell you a little secret. We're not going to use snare drum at all. We're going to use a clap. Now that's not the same as this one, is it? Well, it's pretty close. And what I just did here was I closed the drum and effects tab. I'm going to open that up here. As you can see, there's 4 slots, so you could actually stack drums within the Kong drum designer. We're not going to do that, and I'm going to show you in a second why. You can also change velocity, pitch, and things like that as well. You can add effects for every single drum sound, and you can add effects for master and bus. Well, we're not going to deal with that because we're going to work with external effects, but that will be subject to the next tutorial, so stay tuned for that. But now let's focus on the clap. I think it needs a little bit of pitch work as well. I think the original was pitched up as well. Let's check. Yeah, here you can see in the velocity tab, the pitch has gone up ever so slightly. Let's do that as well. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. Now, how do we get the 2 drum computers to play together? Well, we need to turn the rack around. If you don't know how to do that, you just simply hit tab on your keyboard and it'll flip around. As you can see, there's virtual cables. And what we need is, just like in the original tutorial, we need the CV out. Well, the gate out, not the CV out. So what that'll do is, I'll grab a cable, a virtual cable, and go to gate in. Now watch. I'm going to do the same for the snare drum. I just click on it, hold, and it'll create a virtual cable automatically. I go down to the gate in of the clap. I flip it back around, hit run, and now they're both running simultaneously. Of course, I could have done that in a different way. I could have just stacked the drum sounds within Kong, but for this kind of music, I really like the step sequencer, like in Red Drum. You can of course change the patterns in here because there's this pattern mode. So if you want to have variation in your beat, you can simply choose a different pattern and program them. And you can, in your sequencer lane, as you can see, you can program different patterns down here. Now, for example, what I did was I programmed this without a snare drum, and this without a bass drum. And you can simply change that by just clicking here, bank A, pattern loop 1. You have, as you can see, you have bank A, B, C, D, and you have 8 different possible loops. So there's a lot to do. Now, the other reason why I just simply like to do it this way, you could of course also have just copied Red Drum and change the sounds there. But the beauty of this approach is if you change anything in the pattern here, everything else will be changed in Kong as well. So you don't need to remember where you copied what and so on and so forth. Now that's it for today. And if you want to find out how to make it the beats sound really, really fat, because this is just the first step. And also apply that fattening process on different types of sounds, not just drum sounds, then you should tune in for the next tutorial when we talk about parallel processing. If you like this video, please hit subscribe and give us a like. You can also tell your friends and everybody else. If you don't like it, don't. So, hope to see you soon. Bye!